Hey guys, Rebel95, going live from your local county prison cell. Doing another video analysis this week since, like I said, Death Battle's not gonna be with us for a little bit, so might as well get some of these out of the way. Hopefully I can try to figure out some new ones to do because I'm gonna be getting through this list pretty quickly if we're not, getting some more content for me to do things on. But anyway, yeah, so this is a fight that when I first saw it, I thought like, no, that's stupid. Like and then I looked into it. I'm like, oh my, like holy shit, this is actually like really good and legit. It started from uh, it started from a desire to have Marth, from Fire Emblem or actually to have a Fire Emblem character in Death Battle, more specifically. I, I was looking at like Byleth versus what's his fucking name from Final Fantasy 15 versus Noctis, right? Byleth versus Noctis or something, right? And I was looking at that and I was like, that seems cool, but I don't know. Should I do that? Should I do something else? Should I do like Byleth versus Gilgamesh from Fate? Should I do? And then I saw this and I was like, and then I was like, that's stupid. But now I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so good. Anyway, it's Marth from Fire Emblem, as I probably as I've been saying this entire time, and also as I hinted at before, versus Aragorn, as it's written, Gone in the British accent that they use in the movies, Aragorn, um, from Lord of the Rings, from the Tolkien novels and mythology. First of all, as you should know if you've seen my videos, especially up till recently, I really like when they put two uh, characters from like completely distant mediums against each other. I really like when it's, uh, you get like a sci-fi and a fantasy character, or a sci-fi character versus like an anime character, or something like in this case we've got a literary character, not even like a comic book character or something, like a character from novels and film and whatnot, but a character from novels versus primarily just a video game character. Granted, there have been Lord of the Rings video games, multiple, many more than I thought there were, to be honest. But the yeah, having a Japanese Nintendo character and a character from a book series that started in the early 1900s is fucking, that's pretty great, awesome when you think about it, and they have so many similarities. Coincidentally enough, now whether it's in the Fire Emblem, Fire Emblem is clearly based off of Lord of the Rings. Well, I don't think I don't believe I've ever heard that specifically stated, and I wouldn't just go out and say that. But two fantasy sword and that what is it called? Fuck, I forgot what the genre is. But like fantasy, medieval swordplay, and magic kind of characters. Of course, they're gonna find a lot of similarities. But anyway, um, that being said, with the like immense and vast lore of these two properties of Fire Emblem and um the Tolkien mythology, as well as all of the hard to pronounce names, I'm not. I'm just gonna skip past the lore of these two because I am not gonna remember all of that. But anyway, let's start with Marth. So the best way I can say this is to describe the theme of this fight would be, and that would be two hero kings that are betrayed by their crown, or betrayed by somebody, basically exiled, and have to fight their way back to reclaim their throne. And that's the story of Marth and Aragorn, of course. Um, so Marth is considered to be he's called in many cases the swordsman supreme. And he's just possibly the greatest swordsman in the Fire Emblem. Pure swordsman, not counting like guys who can make swords fly around and shit, but probably the greatest pure swordsman in the Fire Emblem world. If you look at some of the like the Dynasty Warrior kind of game um that they have, he's not that great in those, but yeah, like he's fought like literally countless battles. Like I did not count them. Because you fight so many times in each game, and there's like a million games with Marth in it. So if you count that towards actual experience, over the years he's had all of these different games that he's been in that have their own drastic stories that, end up using, like Marth has been able to fight like entire kingdoms, with, people helping him, obviously. You have like a party, but, you have a party of like a couple dozen people tops, and you're toppling a kingdom. That's pretty great. Of course, the weapon he uses is the falchion, which is the. I don't know that the sword itself is magic, but it was created from the Fire Emblem. Uh, what is it? The binding shield is the counter. There's a sword and shield parallel. Um, and essentially, the falchion is a dragon slayer sword. It is especially effective against dragons, and I remember there was something that said like that the. I never looked into this, but the like wind attack that he uses as a custom in Smash 4 is supposedly canon. I don't think that's true. But even if that's not true, the Falchion does have magical abilities aside from just being especially good against dragons. It has the ability to heal itself as well as its user. Now, by heal itself, that's more of a proposed ability because it's been it's never been like it's been damaged, but it's never been like repaired, but it's ends up back to its regular condition. Like it's over centuries of battle, the sword has never broken or never been scratched or anything, or if it has been broken, it's never been repaired, but it still ends up fixing itself, so it's believed that the sword has the ability to heal itself, but it definitely does have the ability to heal its user. To the degree is different in the games, and when you look at like, well, in the Fire Emblem series, the characters when characters HP hit zero, they die in canon and cannot come back. So, if one HP is as close to death as you can possibly get without dying, and the sword can bring you to a moderate amount of HP after that, that means that it can heal X amount. I'm not going to get into that, I'm just going to say the sword can heal you. The sword can heal his wounds, let's put it that way. To what degree, I'm not entirely sure. That would have to be looked into, but the sword can heal you. Um, but yeah, so Marth definitely has some characteristics. This is kind of bare bones. This is kind of what I like about certain fights that are like not super super overpowered characters, or at face value characters that aren't super overpowered, because the smallest thing is the difference, and it's kind of a lot easier to calculate. Um, but let's get into Aragorn. So Aragorn, the king of or not the king, but his father was the king, and he was the rightful heir, and then he was kind of shunned, so he came back. Yeah, like I said, not going to get into the deep lore of the story or anything. But essentially, Aragorn is considered one of the few human men that could be held up to any dwarf or elf or whatnot. In Lord of the Rings, men are generally considered weaker. They're considered an inferior race of people, but they just predominantly make up a majority of the world, so they just have, more kingdoms and stuff, whereas the elves and the dwarves are more secluded. Aragorn is not considered weak. He is uh, any attribute of, greatness that you could portray upon an elf or a dwarf, he has. He is fast, he is strong, he is cunning, he is sly, he is, mainly because he pretty much had to fight to survive his entire life after being exiled. So, yeah. And because of that, he knows his way around, Elvish tongue. He knows a little bit of Elvish medicine, Elvish magic, things like that. Um, One thing he does keep in his possession is his sword Aldurin, or Aldoran. I'm probably pronouncing it wrong. But this is a sword which was made from the fragments of an, the sword that cut the one true ring from Sauron's hand. Um, and that sword shattered upon impact. And the shards of that sword were collected and forged with an incantation that the sword could never be broken. So it is an indestructible sword, and he renames it, Aldoran, Flame of the West, I believe is what it's. Um, and yeah, and since then he's obviously he's fought trolls, he's fought Ents to a degree, he's fought in wars against like Spartan army levels of outnumbering him. Tens of thousands of orcs, goblins, Orakai, whatnot, having an army at his disposal. Of course, not like single-handedly fighting them, but pretty much, having this very, very myriad of experience over his lifetime before eventually becoming king and reclaiming his throne. But who do I think is going to win here? So I kind of didn't say a lot about their abilities because, like I said, you can take a little more at face value unless you dive really, really deep into everything and look at their stories and everything. Um, but yeah, it's because these two don't have a lot of especially amazing attributes that require a lot of explanation. However, I do think there is a definitive advantage that Marth has, and that is the fact that his sword, his sword heals him, A, and B, experience. To be fair, I think Aragon might have more experience in terms of like time, and he does have an actually indestructible sword. But those two advantages are kind of nullified by Marth's own counterparts, which is Marth is arguably, I would say, a lot younger than Aragon, and therefore would have a lot less experience. But when you look at his feats, such as taking on dragons, even though he has a sword that kills dragons, he's taking on dragons one on one. Whereas anything that even comes close to a dragon that Aragorn has fought, he's done with a party, with a group of people. And, the group of people usually play a pivotal role. Um, and also, yeah, Aragorn's fought in these giant, uphill battle wars, but like I said, he had an entire army at his disposal. Marth has taken over kingdoms with like a small group of people. That's and oh well, Aragorn has an indestructible sword. Yeah, but like I said, the falchion has survived centuries and not broken. So I don't think this is going to be the fight where it breaks. Like in the span of one fight, the falchion is essentially indestructible unless it's fighting something that like can slice through any, like if your sword can't specifically cut through other swords, the falchion's not going to break, and Aragon's can't. Aldurin can't do that. It's just a sword that cannot be broken through. So the indestructible sword aspect doesn't really enter into it. However, the sword being able to heal its user does, and that is a great advantage because that means that Marth is just gonna be able to, like, and I think Marth is probably a better swordsman. Um, Aragorn is, a phenomenal swordsman in his own right, but, he's had to place his attention elsewhere to develop other skills that most of which probably don't enter into this fight. And he's not specifically a swordsman. He is, he's a ranger, or what is it? Right? He's a ranger. Which is kind of the equivalent of like a witcher, but without all the cool extra shit and the mutant genes and stuff. Plus, Marth. I had another thing. Fuck, what was it? like, shit, I completely can't remember what I was gonna say. Anyway, I think that Martha's probably gonna win this, if that's not obvious. So, for those advantages that I just mentioned. So, yeah, but this one I actually would really like to see. This would be a cool, like, if this death battle happened, it would be a little, I can see other people's reactions being like a little what the fuck at first, but I really think this fight could be good. Um, but yeah, anyway, Verbal Engine 95, see ya.